Once again, it's time to take a look at some cool British singles released in 1965, and this time we're turning our attention to November. As was often the case back in the 60s, November was a month that saw an incredible number of new single releases, largely because Christmas was just around the corner. And November 1965 was a particularly strong month, packed with great new records. So, without further ado, let's begin.
Baby, I feel good from the moment I rise.
November saw the release of the Kinks' 9th single and one of their best from 1965. Both sides have become Kinks classics. The A-side, Till the End of the Day, was a powerful and high-energy track very much in the gritty power chord style of their early singles. The B-side was Where Have All the Good Times Gone? Where Have All the Good Times Gone is one of the first examples of the sort of bittersweet and nostalgic lyrics that became a trademark of Ray Davies's writing later in the 60s. Oddly enough, despite the quality of the single, the record got mixed reviews in the press. The New Musical Express wrote,
"Another Ray Davies composition with all the usual Kinks trappings and hallmarks, storming stomp beat with crashing tambourine, that strident and insistent guitar riff which characterizes much of their work, and Ray's familiar nasal vocal with the boys chanting in the background. Exhilarating rhythmically, but the material's disappointing. The flip is fractionally slower, with plaintive quality and a stronger rhythm and blues influence. I prefer this side."
The single reached number 8 in Britain and also entered the top 10 in several European countries, achieving its highest chart position in Sweden, where it climbed to number 1. In the United States, however, the single only managed to reach number 50 according to Billboard.
Climbing steadily up the charts, here's a fantastic number from Spencer Davis and the Boys, Keep On Running.
Keep on hiding. One fine day I'm gonna be the
One of the biggest British hits released in November 1965 was Keep On Running by the Spencer Davis Group. The song was written by Jamaican singer-songwriter Jackie Edwards, who at the time worked in the UK for Island Records as a songwriter. This was the 5th single by Spencer Davis and Company, and their first to become a hit.
Keep On Running was a very big surprise to us when it made number 1, because it was in actual fact the record that was never meant to be an A-side. It was supposed to be the B-side on a record. The A-side, which we liked very much, was turned down by the record company. And we had in fact recorded Keep On Running in a completely different manner from the way it finally went out on disc. And we had girl singers on it, piano, which sounded ever so sweet. And we rearranged it completely and put the fuzz box in and used that heavy bass figure in the beginning.
The B-side was an excellent group original titled High Time Baby. Record Mirror wrote,
The Spencer Davis Group builds popularity week by week, and this should make a reasonable dent in the charts. The top side is bluesy and meaningful, with fine lead voice by Steve Winwood and a concise sort of instrumental sound. Though this is the stronger side, the flip makes up good value for money.
Keep On Running reached number 1 in Britain and remained in the top 20 for a total of 10 weeks. And it also became a top 10 hit in several European countries, but the single didn't make much of an impact in the States, where it stalled at number 76.
when the night falls.
November saw the release of one of the most groundbreaking mod singles of 1965. The Eyes were a mod band from Ealing, and even though you can easily recognize influences from The Who in their sound, this track called When the Night Falls sounded unlike anything else from 1965. And it's certainly not the sort of song you would expect to hear on the A-side of a single from that period.
I don't regret the things I've done, although I miss your loving when the night falls.
The track carries a dark, foreboding atmosphere, with the group using feedback and distortion to emphasize its unsettling mood. When the Night Falls has often been cited as a prime example of what is now known as freakbeat, a term used to describe songs that seemed to bridge the sounds of the mid-60s with the psychedelic styles that began to dominate in 1966 and 1967. The B-side wasn't as groundbreaking as the A-side, but it's another excellent track that has become a major cult favorite among fans of mod sounds from the 60s. The song was heavily influenced by The Who, and the riff was without a doubt inspired by I Can't Explain.
Got a great sweet coat and a soul like fire. You got all you want, you couldn't be no higher.
The Eyes enjoyed quite a bit of popularity in mod clubs around the London area, and the group's sound, along with their eccentric pop art image, quickly caught the attention of the press.
The Eyes, a local pop group hailing from Ealing, have made their first record called When the Night Falls, which is to be released on November 5th. The song came from the pen of 19-year-old Terry Nolder and incorporates a new idea in record making called ESP, Expressive Sounds Production. For those who don't know what ESP is all about, it is a development from pop art music and uses effects to illustrate and add to the song's message. The Eyes have been gaining fans and admirers wherever they have plugged in their instruments, and many people in the world of pop agree that their record will make the top 10.
Despite some press attention, the single failed to make the charts. But both sides have appeared on numerous compilations over the years, and they have earned a cult reputation among fans of mod and freakbeat singles from the era.
So your favorite disc with love from the Small Faces and me? I got mine.
Dad! It's my request. I asked for it from Dale Meredith. Oh, isn't he lovely?
Sure. Let's hear it.
I just sit here every day, wondering what she'll have to say when she reads this letter.
Another strong mod single from November 1965 was this one by the Small Faces. This was the group's second release, and despite receiving good reviews and a fair amount of promotion in the press, the single failed to match the success of their debut 45.
'Cause I got my baby. Don't you know that I got my baby?
It also turned out to be their last single with founding member Jimmy Winston, who was replaced by Ian McLagan just a couple of weeks after the single was issued. The song's release was planned to coincide with the launch of a British film called Dateline Diamonds, in which the Small Faces appear performing the track.
And now, just back from their fabulous American tour, the Small Faces.
The B-side was another good song called It's Too Late.
Now that I need you, it's too late. Now that I love you, yeah.
The New Musical Express wrote,
There's a haunting plaintive quality about I've Got Mine which I found most intriguing, and it's extremely well expressed by the soloist of the Small Faces, who is occasionally joined by the other boys in some ear-catching passages. It starts quietly and gradually erupts until the singer is ferociously shouting towards the end. Rumbling drums and crashing cymbals generate an exciting sound in this beaty ballad with an R&B influence.
The single failed to chart, but despite its poor commercial reception, the Small Faces must have been quite fond of the song, because in 1968, they reworked it into the instrumental number that opens their album Ogden's Nut Gone Flake. November 1965 saw the release of one of them's greatest singles. The song was written by the group's lead vocalist Van Morrison and produced by Tommy Scott.
And we went walking.
In 1965, groups like the Yardbirds and The Who popularized what was then known as rave-ups. These rave-ups were improvisational jams built around shifting dynamics and intensity, and these sections created a hypnotic and almost droning effect that worked best in a live setting, often sending audiences into a kind of ecstatic frenzy. In most songs, the rave-up appeared near the end as a climatic finish, but Mystic Eyes was unusual because the entire track was a rave-up from beginning to end. The lead guitar runs on the studio version were provided by Jimmy Page, who played on most of the group's singles. The New Musical Express wrote,
Mystic Eyes is a frantic rhythm and blues rave with a really wild rhythm. Wailing harmonica takes the first chorus, carried along by that storming, shattering beat. And then the lead guitar takes over. Plenty of excitement generated by them on this disc. The vocal doesn't start till over halfway through, and then it's more of a semi-spoken, semi-shouted pronouncement. And in any case, the vocal doesn't really matter. It's the atmosphere that counts, and that's electric.
Despite getting some good reviews, the record failed to chart in Britain, but it reached number 33 in the United States, where the single had been released a month earlier in October.
Is this the dream you're crying for? Is this a dream?
The Zombies released their sixth single in November 1965. But despite achieving major success with their debut 45 She's Not There in late 1964, none of their following singles managed to make a dent on the top 40 in Britain, and this one was no exception. The A-side was an excellent composition by the group's keyboardist Rod Argent.
I better warn you now, someday you'll find yourself alone.
The B-side, on the other hand, was penned by bassist Chris White.
Don't go away with the night, please stay.
The New Musical Express wrote,
Drum break opens this Zombies track and sets the mood for a wild mid-tempo shaker. Raving soloist is helped along by chants of hey 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 from the others, and there are some unison passages. Tambourine and drums maintain a tremendous beat. Excitement is generated all the way along the line. It's the boys' best for some time. Pity there's so much competition around just now. The beat's equally solid on the flip side, but the soloist is more subdued. It's tuneful and a good B-side.
Despite the good reviews, the single didn't chart.
Scarlet flashing in his eyes, the wizard turned and melted in the sky.
Marc Bolan achieved major success in the early 70s as the leader of T-Rex, but his career started years earlier, and this single from November was his debut 45, released when Bolan was only 18 years old. The A-side was a strong track called The Wizard, where Marc Bolan was already exploring the kind of mystical and fantastical themes he would develop with his folk duo Tyrannosaurus Rex just a couple of years later. The single seemed to merge influences from Dylan and Donovan with the British beat and mod sounds of the era, and both sides featured Jimmy Page and Big Jim Sullivan on guitar, with the Ladybirds providing backing vocals. The B-side was another good Bolan composition called Beyond the Rising Sun.
Yes, past the apples of the sun, near the land of the golden one, far beyond the rising sun.
Record Mirror wrote,
A Mike Leander production for the highly touted New Face, and Mark wrote the song, which is distinctively unusual, for himself. It's a mid-tempo, well-performed, staccato sort of storyline song with enough appeal to hit the lower reaches of the charts at least. The flip is almost as strong, though more conventional.
The single was not a commercial success, but it has become a highly valuable and collectible 45, with original pressings now selling for sky-high prices among collectors. Just like Marc Bolan, another artist who wouldn't achieve major success until the 70s was Rod Stewart. This was Stewart's second single, released while those who were part of the scene still knew him as Rod the Mod. His first single, which was released in late 1964, featured a soulful cover of Good Morning Little Schoolgirl by Sonny Boy Williamson. But this follow-up single from November 1965 had a more conventional and pop-oriented sound, which contrasted with the kind of soulful, bluesy material Stewart was performing in clubs at the time. Both sides were penned by Barry Mason. The B-side was a song called Why Does It Go On?
Still it goes on. Why does it go on? Why does it go on?
Just like his debut 45, the single went completely unnoticed and didn't even get reviewed in the press. After two singles that failed to attract any attention, Dee and Company scored their first top 30 hit with this track called You Make It Move.
Make it move. I love you, girl. Make it move. Come on, come on, come on.
After the success of Satisfaction by the Stones in the summer of 1965, many bands began releasing songs patterned after it, and this track was one of them. You Make It Move featured a prominent fuzz guitar paired with that signature Satisfaction beat. Record Mirror wrote,
An all-happening slice of modern-styled pop, both sides penned by the Howard Blakely team of Honeycomb fame. Great big backing sounds behind what sounds like a wall of layered vocals. Certainly good enough for the charts, and with plenty of excitement.
The single peaked at number 26, and it was the first in a string of hits that the group would enjoy in Britain throughout the mid to late 60s.
Who's wrong? Can you see? I ain't hurting anybody by being me.
Another highlight from November 1965 was this rather forgotten single by a mod duo called The Truth. The duo, which was formed by Frank Aiello and Steve Jameson, was in fact a pair of London hairdressers with a keen interest in mod fashion and music. They were discovered by Jeff Cooper of Pi Records and went on to release a total of 8 singles between 1965 and 1968. This was their second release, and possibly the best 45 they ever issued. The highlight of the single was the A-side, a snarling track driven by fuzz guitar that perfectly captured the raw and hard-edged mod sound of the era.
And he says we're strong from his easy chair. There's a sucker boy every minute somewhere who's wrong.
The B-side was not as strong as the A-side, but it was still a decent track called She's a Roller.
She's a roller. She's a roller. That's where she used to get her bread.
The single went largely unnoticed at the time, but over the years it has gained recognition among collectors and fans of mod and freakbeat singles from the 60s. And both sides are included in this compilation from 2014, which gathers all their singles and unreleased tracks. The success of the Byrds and Bob Dylan prompted many groups to release singles in a similar folk rock style, and this single by The Searchers is a good example of that trend. Although it's worth remembering that The Searchers had helped shape the Byrds' sound in the first place, so this was really a case of the influence coming full circle.
And though you think I'm weird, don't try and change me, dear.
The song was written by American songwriter P.F. Sloan, who also wrote several hits from that period, such as Eve of Destruction by Barry Maguire. The New Musical Express wrote,
Completely different from anything the Searchers have done before. This is in the folk beat style. Both the song itself and Mike Pender's solo have a Dylan-like quality. It's particularly stimulating when at the end of each verse the rhythm goes into double time, emphasized by tambourine, and the beat becomes really vibrant. A simple but arresting tune, and it should do better than their last.
The single reached number 20 in the UK and number 70 in the States.
She's a must to avoid, better take it from me.
Here we go with a great English recording group, Hermits.
Another P.F. Sloan composition that became a hit was A Must to Avoid by Herman's Hermits. The song was produced by Mickey Most and arranged by future Led Zeppelin bassist John Paul Jones, and it ended up becoming a big international hit. Record Mirror wrote,
An unprotesting song from P.F. Sloan whose new areas of destruction are wound up round a girl who is a heartbreaker. Herman sings well, with a sort of urgent power, and there are some good group touches. It's musically strong. A hit.
The song did indeed become a hit. A Must to Avoid reached number 6 in Britain, number 1 in New Zealand, number 4 in Australia, number 3 in Canada, and number 8 in the United States.
And now here's a brand new one to keep an ear on as we head into the new year. It's Crispian St. with You Were On My Mind.
But I woke up this morning, you were on my mind.
And last but not least, another single from November 1965 that became a big hit was this one by Crispian St. The song was written by Sylvia Fricker and was originally recorded by Ian and Sylvia in 1963. But the better-known versions of the song appeared in 1965. A couple of months before Crispian St. released his version, the track had already been issued as a single by We 5, a folk pop band from San Francisco, whose rendition reached number 3 in the States. But the We 5 version wasn't a hit in the UK, so Crispian St. released his own take in November and reached number 2 on the British charts. This was Crispian St. third single, and although the record was initially ignored by the music press, it gradually gained popularity and eventually reached number 2 in the UK 3 months later, in February 1966. And it even became a moderate hit in the States, reaching number 38 on the Billboard charts. The singer scored another major hit a few months later with The Pied Piper, but he was never able to match the same level of success again. hope you enjoyed this trip back to November 1965. Let me know in the comments which single was your favorite of the month. See you next time.